I'm going to introduce Steven Schofield for this afternoon's session, and I'm going to read the notes that he sent me. But before I do that, I personally am immensely proud and passionate about what Steve and his team have done at Carphone Warehouse, Best Buy. It's been a fantastic journey which they've been on, and the speed of which they've delivered results is actually quite astounding. And Steve's pure entry point into Carphone was quite a dramatic change, coming from a head of Lean Six Sigma from a pharmaceutical company, I can't even say it now, was a dramatic show of intent from Carphone. So Steven initially trained as a design engineer, I can't believe that for an instance, working in the nuclear industry, and since the mid-90s he's been responsible for Lean Six Sigma deployment. And he's an absolute fanatic about it in a very business-centric way, and that comes across extremely well. In addition to championing operational finance and activity-based applications. More recently, he's held leadership roles in global operations, execution and strategy, and Lean Six Sigma deployment in a range of industries, including the pharma. He joined Best Buy Europe in 2010 and is responsible for operational excellence, which is leading the team combining master black belt duties with the implementation of the organization's continuous improvement infrastructure. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Schofield from Best Buy Europe.
Thanks very much, Nigel. That was very nice. So, hopefully in this short discussion, I just want to make sure that you get a sense of the gritty practicalities of translating these process mapping and business process engineering into the daily activity of execution. And so I'd just like to talk to you about kind of like our what we've created within Carphone Warehouse. And imagine this, imagine a situation where you've got a business which is completely entrepreneurial, rushing around with no processes for 20 years. Then all of a sudden there's a decision to get some processes. So I lead this operational excellence team, and what we do is hopefully provide people with operational excellence capability, whatever that means in terms of Lean Six Sigma, lean tools, productivity tools. Help the business save money to reinvest. And crucially, and this is very crucial, put in place an infrastructure which enables continuous improvement sustainability. And many businesses don't do this. They don't put the framework in place. They don't have the plumbing, if you will. And this whole thing around having the infrastructure for continuous improvement is a basic thing. And we've seen, and we use Nimbus as a platform, and we call it how-to, as the fundamental basis for continuous improvement. So, what do we strive for? What are we seeking for? Consistent processes. Our mission-critical, business-as-usual processes should not be a discovery. We have standardized processes. And our processes, when they're not standard, it means something's gone wrong. So the way that we document our processes and the way that we kind of, the pace at which we surface non-standard conditions is important. Our processes are effective. What that means is that we have a look at all the different ways in which our customers and our demand behaves. And we don't have one big sausage machine where all different kinds of things go through it. We stream our processes so that we have difficult to solve things. For example, in contact centres, difficult to solve problems, easy to solve problems, and problems which is just purely transactional. And that's really important, because what we don't do then is squander resources, and we don't have easy to do things queuing up behind difficult to do things. And then we have right first time. Imagine this. We strive for, and we've not got there, processes which are not managed by attention. The worst form of process control is inspection. And 99% of business processes are reliant on inspectors, checking and goalkeeping to make sure that things don't pass. And I guess you know as well as I do that things will pass. Defects will occur, customers will get upset, errors will occur. Inspection is just checking and trying to goalkeep process incapability. The next level of process control is error condition, where, we're going to make a mistake, but we've not made one yet. That's kind of like type 2 control, where it's an error flag condition. The best form of process control is where we have a type 1 control, where we eradicate the error condition leading to a defect or something screwing up. You'll see in household devices, for example, the earth pin on a plug, so that the device is always earthed before energy is applied. Or you'll see bottle tops, for kids, so they can't get into drugs and kind of like take overdoses or whatever. These are the elimination of an error condition. Type 1 controls, these are fantastic. I would ask you to examine your processes and think about what proportion of your processes are type 3, just inspection based. There's a huge amount of cost associated with that. So capable processes, right first time. And it involves a degree of creativity to be able to do this, and working with your people and your teams to be able to come up with ideas to address some of these process capability issues. So, what I argue is this: standardization is the basis of continuous improvement. It's a lean axiom. It's an old axiom, which is that unless you have a standard, unless it's written down, unless you have proved that you are adopting that standard, then lurching into continuous improvement is a fallacy. I would also argue this: it doesn't really matter what processes and tools you choose. There is a requirement to confirm standardization, and then there's a requirement for improvement. And many businesses have spent huge amounts of money trying to justify and articulate different kind of methodologies. We have kind of like the IT guys And we have this tension between the IT guys and the operational guys. We have the IT business process re-engineering guys, and they're in a bun fight with the operations guys, adopting Lean or Six Sigma or whatever, continuous improvement. And there is a tension there. And what I would suggest is that it doesn't really matter. The deal is this. First of all, you've got to be able to have a mechanism for standardization. Then, and only then, have you the ability to continuously improve or improve the situation. And people are not really drawn to this. Standardization is boring. Repeatability in processes is very boring. However, the journey that you go through in order to be able to achieve a standard repeatably, day in, day out, surfaces a huge amount of issues, opportunities, etc., etc. So don't be afraid of striving for repeatability. And it's only when you've got repeatability that you can actually go for continuous improvement. So this slide is very powerful. Standardize, lock it in, repeatability, achieve repeatability. Only then go for improvement. Many companies lurch through series of improvements without actually achieving the standard, whatever that may be. Our company is a very fast-paced company, and always the speed-to-market rules. So operational excellence, from our perspective, we're like ambulance chasers, if you will. We've got this huge amount of opportunity, and people say, well, we'll pick it up next time and we'll do this and we'll do the other. But, you know, without a formal continuous improvement infrastructure, we will never pick this kind of stuff up, because speed to market will always rule for our business. So what we focus on is repeatable execution in business as usual processes. It's not glamorous. Let's just do it. Bang, 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 bang. What stops us from doing the same thing day in, day out? Following on from that is, obviously we need a really good customer experience, which means it's easy to do business with. And a lot of academic papers at the moment are focusing in and around, you know, forget the delighters, forget the wow, bang kind of stuff. A lot of the drive at the moment is in and around people feel it's easy to do business with. But again, you know, these two are linked. Oh, I forgot to mention this best Bob, best of the best. Have a think about things. Think about your processes. Why on a Wednesday with shift B can you achieve X level of output, but on a Thursday or a Friday or a different month you can't? So use the best performing statistics to actually just set yourselves an expectation and an opportunity or an entitlement. Best of the best. It's very crude, but when did we get our best performance, and what factors and what variables led us to get this best of the best performance? So, Bob. Blackadder, Bob. We need high yield leverage projects. So that's just so that we can continue as a department. And what we're also focusing on is back of store productivity. So we have shops, we have back of store and front of store activities. And if we can free off back of store resources to move into front of store, we've actually seen through some Weasley statistics that we can improve our conversion rate. So that's important for us. And when we do get in front of people, obviously we want to be able to transact again repeatably. It's not glamorous. Doink, 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 doink. Okay? So, this thing about standardization. We need standardization. And we use a platform called How-To, which is Nimbus, but it's this kind of, basically across the whole business, we have all our SOPs defined. So whether you're working in a retail store, or whether or not you're working in a contact center, in a live environment, a live transactional environment, everybody has a script, everybody has an SOP. And in theory, every single one of you guys can turn up, follow the SOP, and deliver a seamless customer experience. But, you know, it allows us to surface snags, non-standard conditions. It allows us to be able to de-snag, fix things. One of the most important things about this, of course, is this. We don't do sort of top-down. We involve the people that actually do the jobs to actually define the standards. That's very, very fundamental. Some of you will have been be relatively experienced in continuous improvement, and others may be new to it. But it always comes back down to the people. So involving the right people. From our perspective, we have multi-channels, so we get a consistent voice. And through standardization, you will get 10 to 15% improvement just because you've measured it and you're standardizing it. So the phases of continuous improvement and sustainable continuous improvement. First of all, imagine this green stuff here is just mapping our current processes, standardizing. And given that standardization, it will flag certain opportunities. And then we go into a phase where we actually adopt the standard. We say, okay, so this is the standard. You guys now will adopt it and you will do it in a repeatable way. What that flushes out is initially opportunities for de-snag. Why can we not do this on a Wednesday? What happens on a Wednesday? Why does Frankie not do it the same as Bobby? Whatever. So, in addition, we go through this phase of discovery. Before, without standardization, we have no idea what opportunity there is. As we standardize and force standardization, then we come into a phase now where, and once we've locked a standard down, then we go into a phase of continuous improvement. And the final phase is where we have systems and mechanisms to make sure that we achieve or not achieve our standard. And also we have processes to identify the high leverage improvement opportunities. And so, you know, we go through the quick wins and the definition phase. Here we're into kind of de-snagging. We might also then be in a position where we can define time standards and really leverage our resources. And then this phase here, which is a very mature phase, is where we're goal aligned to our business requirements. And so we have a huge opportunity, we have huge, shall we say, resources in improving stuff, less resources in standardization, but we have a process for identifying and dealing with non-standard conditions. This is fundamentally a operating system which should be adopted by very mature and very successful organisations. People don't get this. People don't get the standardisation phase and the improvement phases. They don't get the fact that we need this mechanism for surfacing non-standard conditions. Okay, so we implemented Nimbus over from 2009 through to 2010 /11. We've virtually mapped the whole of the business now. And, you know, it does require resource. It's painful. It forces us to go back into the business and say, who is the process owner of this process, which people don't like, as you can imagine. And we've pretty much got in excess of 10,000 employees now adopting SOPs that have been mapped by the people. So in actual fact, we're just at the early stages. We're just going through this. If you remember the green and blue thing, we're just at the standardization phase. Given that, I just want to share with you some stories. This one, for example, standardization, servicing quick wins. So we have a measure called Net Promoter Score. And this is so we text every day thousands of customers and they score us. So it's almost like real-time customer feedback. Our historical approach to Net Promoter Score has been, oh, it's all a bit Weasley, it's all kind of mysterious, etc., etc. And we've never really been able to kind of get a handle on Net Promoter Score. And we've never been able to assign mission-critical processes and how those mission-critical processes impact Net Promoter Score. So what we did was identify these mission-critical processes, and through Lean and Six Sigma, identified the ones that were really bad. As a result of it, first of all, we identified up here all the myths. Oh, it's all about, for example, the way when you pick up the phone, you smile. I'm sorry. Not only have we not delivered your phone, we've sent you the wrong one. However, okay? So all these, shall we say, urban myths. What we found was, through Lean and Six Sigma and this kind of Weasley analysis, that customers really don't care how nice you are if you don't fix their issue. It sounds like common sense, of course, but we've had a whole industry and cottage industry of, well, you know, we can drive NPS through smiling and standing up and walking around, and if you wear a pink jumper, it's going to make a difference. And it really doesn't. Fix the issues and you get a good score. Don't fix the issues, you get a bad score. It's kind of makes sense. So what we then, after learning about this, we then had a look at our processes. Which ones are open loop? which ones in the contact centres and the way that and those customer-facing processes we didn't fix stuff, but we signed it off. And using our teams and the people that have written our processes, we've then said, okay, fine. Given the fact that we know that there's a correlation between first-time fix for customers, and it's nothing to do with how polite you are. It's not, it doesn't matter how polite you are if you're telling somebody bad news. It's bad news, isn't it? So, having looked at all our processes here, and then doing a pilot study in terms of first-time fix, we know statistically then we've made a difference through Lean Six Sigma tools. And this p-value here, if it's less than 0.05, then we know it's going to make a difference statistically. We've seen this kind of profile in terms of our Net Promoter Score. And you can assign value to it. It's difficult, but this is one of these soft measures that it is difficult to assign values to. But you can see the phases here. This is when we had an original pork. This is when we had a look at some processes. This is when we piloted some processes. This was Christmas last year, by the way, with the bad weather. And now this is where we're at. So for example, Net Promoter Score, for example, being a soft measure, a soft but important measure, can be fixed by examining our mission-critical processes. Here's another example where this just came out of left field. We have two processes. One where people from stores walk to the bank and drop off money, or we have a armoured pickup. And because of the fact that we were using time standards in our process maps, we found that this is just a by the way kind of thing, really. We found that we had some opportunity, 4.8 hours. And at the time, it was kind of like, well, it's a labour issue, isn't it? It's kind of labour utilisation issue. But in actual fact, what it did do was free off 2.7% more face time in our stores for our agents. And so, having a look at the base data, we saw there was a difference, not just in labour hours, but in conversion rates. And what we did, using, again, some Weasley Lean Six Sigma stuff, was do a control comparison year on year. So we blocked out seasonal variation. And we see a 0.475% improvement in conversion rate, which is worth a huge amount of money, as you can imagine. That's a 0.475 improvement in sales across the board. So we've seen standardization, we've seen the fact that we can apply it, we've seen how we can use standards to flag opportunity. And that's the phase that we're in at the moment. It's early days yet. Here's our operating system. We have a customer journey. I know the brand. I want to go into a store or website. When I go into a store or website, it's easy to transact. When I do transact, then I get what I think. I don't get any surprises, and I get my issues fixed. That's the high-level hierarchy of our business. And that's how we measure our business. And here are the mission-critical processes that if you screw this one up, it's going to affect that, that, and that. if you screw this one up, it's going to affect that one. So we've got that mapped. So we can link our operational processes directly to voice of the customer, which is a big deal. Then, given our, shall we say, commercial and performance requirements, we can prioritize our improvement opportunity. And we can say whether it's a business as usual project, or it's a Lean Six Sigma project, or it's a whatever project, in the way that we colour these boxes in. And that will have operational metrics associated with our key strategic objectives. So this whole process here allows us to be able to prioritise what we're going to work on. Okay? Then we have either business as usual projects or Lean Six Sigma projects where we track and work on how we're solving these. And in this case, for example, we can see the median time to resolution, the value that we get, and all that stuff. Then we go and say, okay, if we've done that, here now we lock it in. Ideally, we'll lock it in through workflow, and that becomes then the new standard. And then we go back again. We also have a process for, and this is key, and the people remains a key component, where we have a mechanism for flagging when the standard is not correct and escalating and surfacing new ideas. That's pretty fundamental to any operating system. So we've got the standard, we've got the customer-based measurement system, we have a mechanism for prioritization, we have a mechanism for continuous improvement, whatever that may be, and don't worry about the details of that, you can decide, and it doesn't necessarily have to be prescriptive, it's whatever. And then we have a way of locking that in and confirming the standard and going back around the loop again. So, not rocket science. And that's all you need, really. So we've got a strategy map here, which is where we're at the moment. But to kind of round up, don't get hung up about the tools. As long as you've got this idea in your heads about achieving a standard and then improving on that standard, that's all you need. Don't get drawn into all these parochial fights about is it Lean, is it Six Sigma, is it business process reengineering, is it this, that, or the other. And historically, I think that in the wider industry, there have been these tensions about people trying to fight for the ground, and it's not necessary. In fact, it's destructive. So stay focused. Remember that standardization forms the basis of continuous improvement. If you can't standardize, you might as well walk away. If you can't get your people operating clunk, 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 and your processes, then you're going to lose. The people that do the jobs are the most important. They're the ones that are going to give you some insight. They're the ones that are going to tell you what really happens, not what you want to think. They're the ones that surface through standardization all these opportunities. Really? Does that really happen? When we execute to a standard, it flags and surfaces all this inherent waste, this stuff that's baked into our processes, this institutionalized cost of poor quality. And then the next thing here is don't get into continuous improvement before you can achieve a standard. Achieving a standard is fundamental. If you can't do that, there's no way you're going to be able to improve something because you'll never sustain it. You need a framework, whatever that is. And we use Nimbus to provide the kind of spine of our framework, our improvement framework. And it's got to be aligned, obviously, to company objectives. And different companies are good or bad at this kind of stuff. Goal deployment, sometimes people call it horseshin cannery. But it means translating strategic objectives into operational objectives. And so Joe Soap on the shop floor can see that if I can improve my changeover time, or if I can improve my sales in my store, then it kind of like, and he's got direct line of sight all the way up to the corporate return on investment targets. So you've got to have that framework. And we need an escalation process. And for us, how to, or Nimbus provides us with that framework. This is one of the guys that works for us, just some guy on the shop floor. And I'll come back to people, and it's always about people. It's providing the people with the framework to be able to do this kind of thing. So, unlocking people's talents. Standardization forms the basis of allowing people to be creative about improving what they do and our processes and their processes. So that's what it's all about, really. So that's it. Thank you.